Sometimes it just happens to take us 7, 8 minutes to do that. But yeah, it's one of those things where we're not kind of too conscious about it either way. Like, we're not going to deliberately write long songs, but we're not going to, if a song is 7 minutes, then it's 7 minutes. We're not going to try and cut it down. And like, we don't want to have to do radio edits and all that sort of stuff. Because yeah, the idea is everything has its purpose and is there for a reason.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Connor from Conjurer. It's an alliteration I wasn't planning on, but how are you?
I'm really good, man. How are you?
I'm pretty swell, thanks so much. We are chatting ahead of the release of your brand new album, Pathos or Pathos if you prefer, depending on your pronunciation. From the Greek, out on Nuclear Blast. Super stoked for you guys. This is only your second full length album in like 8 or 9 years. I feel like it's been a purposeful, slow progression for the band, not just musically, but in your career. Everything has seemed to be a chess move.
Kind of, yeah. It's more, we, off the back of Maya, the first album, we were able to do more just off that one album than we'd ever anticipated being able to do as a band in general. So it was kind of like we definitely wanted to try and be smart with things, but a lot of it was just taking things as they came. So the plan initially, like when we put that out, was yeah, cool, we'll tour it maybe for a year or two, but then write the next one, get back in the studio. But then we just kept getting like cool offer after cool offer after cool tour, festival, whatever it was. And eventually it just like we're also just terrible at writing, like not when we're at home, if that makes sense. Like, we can't write on the road, or like if we're practicing, we're not a jam band where we get in a room and like someone plays a riff and we bounce off each other. It's just not how we work. And so the other side of being on tour all the time means we just didn't have any like time to sit down and write. So it was never the plan, like that we don't have some masterful Conjurer roadmap. And it was like, nope, since day one, it was always meant to be 4 years between albums. It was just, we got very lucky and got to do a lot of cool stuff. And then the pandemic hit, and we had 2 years indoors basically that gave us the time to finally write an album.
I appreciate your candor. I don't think it means you're terrible at writing. I think it means you're particular about how you guys write together.
That's the other
And
side of it,
yeah,
yeah.
like just to be fair to yourself, forgive yourself, everybody.
We're
And
terrible at being proactive with it.
right,
It's one of those things where once we are in that mindset, like once rolling with the songs, we're not too bad at it in that sense. But yeah, like finding the time to do it. And then the other thing is we're very, like say, particular about it. So once we do have something that we're working on, we are right down arguing over the smallest little details. So we don't just get the first draft of a song and then go, yeah, cool, that'll do. We definitely go back and forth a lot. So it can be tricky, but whether it's just to make ourselves feel better or not, we've attributed that to being kind of the hidden secret behind any success, is that we will argue and argue and argue and go back and forth until we get every song, every like transition and section and song or everything like that to the point where all four of us are happy with it. And then if we reach that point, then hopefully that means it's good, and we go from there.
right on. Before we delve into the record a little bit, just part and parcel of playing live so much those first few years, I think it has made you an incredible live band, one of the best I've ever seen. And I mean that sincerely over my whole career in life as a fan and a performer myself. You guys are amazing live. Did some of that now carry over? Does sometimes that mojo from just the chemistry of the band sort of enhance the writing, or is it just we write the same way we always have?
As far as I'm aware, anyway, it's just the same as it's always been. It might be something that we figure out like when we come to do album through. It might be like, oh, okay, well, it turns out we actually did this last time, or we didn't realize that at the time, or anything like that. But no, as far as I'm aware, the kind of like the two sides of it, they're not like completely separate, but there's not at least on this album there wasn't a huge amount of crossover. It was different this time just because this was the first time we'd ever been at zero essentially since the band started. Whereas kind of on Maya, it was, and even the EP before that, it was just, well, these are the songs we have as a band. And like you say, we then through playing loads of live shows, you would play a show, play a new song and go, oh, okay, well, that bit didn't really work here or anything like that. And kind of use the live experience to inform that. Whereas this, because we were just going from scratch and also it was a pandemic, we couldn't play live shows. It was just, we wrote how we would write at home, and it kind of is what it is. And now it's only that we're coming back to playing shows and we're playing some of these songs for the first time together, because we didn't even manage to play them in a rehearsal room before we recorded them. So the first gigs back were literally the first time playing these songs, and it is kind of a well, we'll see how this goes. Let's hope that this translates. And luckily, it seems to be all good so far. So I think in terms of the music we write is probably like there has to be some sort of subconscious thing going on where it's like the songs we write are also what we want to play live, and it seems to work, but it's not deliberately that way or anything like that. We're not writing parts going, oh, we need a part for a mosh pit or something like this. It's just these are the songs we're writing and we hope they're good live.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because what I found it's kind of funny. So we love Nuclear Blast here at Ghost Cult. We cover everything they do. I love the press notes. It's not on purpose. Genre tags are for more for the press than listeners, right? Listeners will make up their own mind. Whatever
Right.
you tell them it is, it's once they hear it, it becomes what they think it is. But I love that the label was just like Conjurer, Pathos, black metal, and I was like, sort
Yeah.
of, but not really. And
That's
so
the tricky bit. Yeah.
more black metal than ever before, definitely. And I want to say not just a blanket statement there, more atmospheric, drama building. It's almost like there's some sections on the album. I don't even want to say particular songs, but sections of songs that remind me
Yeah.
of like a horror movie soundtrack on purpose.
That's sick. Yeah. Yeah.
And then what you guys always do, just kind of mix it up, sludge, doom, black metal. But there's maybe some more pronounced black metal guitar on this album than probably ever before. Maybe that's something I wanted to discuss with you.
Yeah, you're not the first person to mention that. I don't know how much of most stuff has fully gone out, but you're right. It's tricky. Like we've always struggled with that as well, especially in the early days when like, oh, okay, well tell me about like what style of music is it? And we just kind of have to go, like we don't really, I think on all of our social medias, we just put UK riff music because it's just easier than being like, oh, well, it's sludge and it's black and there's post rock bits and there's like it's yeah, there's a bit of everything. But you're right. At least on this album, the idea was to push those things further. So you're right. Like the black metal bits do have like more of that atmosphere and stuff to it, and but then the flip side of that, all like the pretty clean bits are meant to be even nicer and all that sort of stuff. So there's definitely kind of more of everything,
Mm-hmm.
including the black metal bit, I guess. But the idea is, yeah, it still hopefully fits, like you say, as a neat Conjurer package that is true to what we've done before, I guess.
100%, and it will totally make sense once the fans listen to this. This interview will
Good, yeah.
probably come out
That's
right before or right after the album drops. That's usually what we
okay.
do
Yeah.
in terms of success and helping promote
Mhm.
the band as much as we can and the label. I think also those black metal bits, as you say. I think it's the specific, maybe it's specific riffs that have kind of like an old school black metal flavor in the riffs themselves, in the playing, that
Okay, yeah.
maybe give it that element that's like, oh, that's very Norwegian 1989,
Yeah.
1991. I hear it.
It's interesting, yeah, because we don't
Yeah.
really, as far as I'm aware, unless someone's got hidden stuff they listen to, as far as I'm aware, we've never really like been huge into that. We're all
Mm.
aware of it, and we've all heard those albums and that sort of stuff, but it's not black metal isn't something that we listen to. Like we're not in the van going, cool, let's put Emperor on or anything like that. So those bits are the more interesting bits where it's kind of like not even entirely sure where that came from, but I get exactly what you mean. Whereas like when you do hear it, like it's obvious kind of what, not so much I guess where it's come from, but it's obvious as to what it's kind of calling towards and that sort of thing, what it sounds like.
What I've always liked about the band is you've always had some longer tracks and some shorter ones, and the longer ones are obviously a little more have more room for development and different motifs and things. I like that this record is mostly longer tracks,
Yeah.
at least to me. And those three 7-minute ones all seem to be for me my favorite ones. Obviously, the opener "It Dwells." I know a lot of people are going to talk about those years condemned, and obviously the closer is humongous. So I don't know if that's just when you get to these longer tracks, they just develop that way, and they just come out crushing, but they do.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's another one of those things where like we don't sit down to do that deliberately. We don't go, right, we want to write songs that are more than 5 minutes or anything like that. Like it's very much just kind of like we were saying before, like writing all the stuff we want to write, but making it fit in a way that is seamless. So one of our big things is even though we have long songs, we don't want them to feel long. Like even just because the song's 8 minutes, we don't want you to sit there and go, yeah, Christ, that was 8 minutes. We want it to feel the same as like a 5 minute song and stuff without rushing stuff. And like you're saying, everything has its place and has its purpose and everything develops and reaches its like ultimate kind of end point. And resolves and all that sort of stuff. And some, yeah, you're right. Sometimes it just happens to take us 7, 8 minutes to do that. But yeah, that's it's one of those things where we're not kind of too conscious about it either way. Like we're not going to deliberately write long songs, but we're not gonna if a song is 7 minutes, then it's 7 minutes. We're not going to try and cut it down, and like we don't want to have to do radio edits and all that sort of stuff. Because yeah, the idea is everything has its purpose and is there for a reason.
Right on. It's kind of funny. I feel like, one of the things that's, again, very special about the band is you guys have had your own, sort of carved your own way. And obviously, the media does what the media does. I don't read a lot of other people's reviews, but we also get the same press releases everybody else does. So
Yeah,
progressively, every album, you get like more and more praise and more quotes. And then you did the split release there, the collaborative release with Pigeon, right?
yeah.
And a lot of hype around that. Did you feel personally any pressure, like, oh well, we're gonna take this time and write this new record? It better be, drastically different or better than the last one, or you guys just do what you do?
Not really. Yeah, for at least as a band, we like are very like open about the fact that we write for the four of us, and then as long as we're happy with it, we'll put it out. And if everyone else likes it, great. If not, then kind of it is what it is. But I think on like a slight more personal like thing, I felt a little bit of pressure just because I didn't write on Maya. Like I joined the band just as they finished recording it, so I've been there for the whole like promotion and obviously the whole album cycle and playing all the shows and all of that. Like I'm in all the pictures, but it wasn't so much like my baby, if that makes sense. Whereas this time, this is the first time that I'm putting out like I've contributed to this. Like this is what I've written. These are the songs that I've come up with my bandmates and with my friends. And so I've felt a tiny bit of pressure just because I don't want it to like flop, if that makes sense. I don't want it to be like Maya gets all these rave reviews and it's like people are talking about it in like these ridiculously kind ways of like best debut ever and like future of metal and all that sort of stuff, which we see online, which is, yeah, very kind. But I don't want it to then be, okay, cool, here's my album. Yeah, 6 out of 10.
Right there, it always strikes me as interesting. I think maybe it's the European press is a lot more egregious in that regard, where they get bananas on a
Yeah,
band, and
it's
and your band was one of them for a while, where they were just like every story was about you guys, which is great. We want to see you guys blow up as much as humanly possible. It's hard to make it out there, and it's the music industry is very competitive between the labels, and you guys moved labels a few times, so this it seems like the partnering of Nuclear Blast is a big one for you guys and a great one as well.
Yeah, they're great. We were going to be working with them anyway, even before our old label that we were on over here folded. They were going to be leasing it for US and rest of the world and kind of putting out for us on that side. So we'd already started to build those relationships, and we already knew that they were a really good match for us. And so it just kind of made sense. Like when we did end up needing a new kind of full-time label that we stuck with them. We did definitely speak to some other people just to make sure we weren't kind of like just going with the first people that we kind of already knew and to like make sure we were making the best steps for our band. But talking to those other people essentially only just confirmed that like no, Nuclear Blaster kind of like right for us. You can tell that they care about the band, and the people there who we're now working with are like genuine fans and they care about the band and they want the best for us, like you were saying. Um, so yeah, I think we're very fortunate, and so far, like it's been great. Obviously, we hope it keeps going that way going forward. But they've been just like a pleasure to work with. They were super open and welcoming. They like didn't put any sort of pressure on us. They were like, "Cool, write the album, take as long as you need, just give it to us when it's done, and we'll put it out." And yeah, it's been great.
Wonderful. We love to hear that. And again, both sides of the Atlantic, super excited and stoked to work with
Yeah,
the band. Just as we start to wind this down, I want to give you back your day.
oh, no, sorry.
Obviously, you were one of the first bands to play in the UK, following we'll call it the Great Darkness.
Right, yeah,
we're
yeah,
not
yeah.
fully through it yet, as you well know, but
Right.
you did the Download pilot, and that was one of the very first actual big deal shows and festivals in the whole of Europe, but especially the UK. What was that like for you guys to kind of take the stage again after a big break?
It was weird. Like it was genuinely really strange, particularly for us as well, because I don't know if it was the same for a lot of people playing that. Maybe not for some of the bigger bands, but that was also the biggest show we've ever done. Or at that point, it was anyway. We ended up getting to do a couple of festival slots later on in the summer, which might have been a little bit bigger. But yeah, like definitely at the time, it was like, okay, so we're going from having not played a show for 2 years to now playing our biggest show. And again, like it's still, yeah, that was a pilot event basically to see if summer events could come back, like if other outdoor festivals could go ahead. But indoor stuff and like practicing was still kind of tricky. We were lucky that we had our own space that we were renting, so we could rehearse, but it was still, yeah, it was weird, like stepping back out on stage and it being like, oh wow, there's a lot of people, loads who have like maybe never heard us before. That was the first time we played it, Dwell. So it was like we're opening with a brand new song. So even if people are here to see us, like we're immediately going straight in with, oh yeah, welcome back. Also, here's something you've never heard before. It was just really strange, but it was strange also in the way that as soon as you got there, everything slotted right back into place. Like you were talking to people that you'd like obviously not seen in a couple of years, and everyone was just hanging out, talking, almost as if nothing had ever happened. And so it was twofold. It was like weird to be back, but weird that it had never changed. If that makes sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah,
Um,
overall it was great. Like it was a really good show, and like it was awesome to be back and like playing again. I was very tired. Turns out my stamina for performing had just gone, so I almost died. But
Yikes.
no, it was wicked.
Nice. It sounded perfectly Conjurer, actually. And we had some people there, so we heard
Oh,
firsthand
nice.
how you guys did. Just for a last question, I always like to end these with a wild card question. And for you, I have one I picked. I don't ask that often. So I'm really
Okay.
excited about what the answer might be. If you could invite three people, living or dead, to dinner with you, what would
Mhm.
be the meal you would serve, and who would you invite? Living or dead, could be anybody, anytime.
Oh, geez, that's a lot of people. There's so many people who have lived and died. Oh my God. How long have you
Stumped you.
got? Because I'm gonna need some time to think. So if I'm gonna have this meal, I feel like it's a cop out if I can have a meal with anyone who's ever lived to be like, oh yeah, I'll just have it with my mum. Like, no offense to my mum, I love her, but I can have dinner with her anytime. I feel like you have to go big, right? But it's just who? Who do I? Because also it depends. Like, there's the musical side of it. It's like, okay, cool. Who are the musical heroes who have died? Like, I think, like, I don't know, people like Cliff Burton or whatnot. So I want to ask him all about the early days of Metallica and all that stuff, sort of stuff. But then you've also just like got general huge world figures, right? So I don't know. That's really tricky. I feel like I would kind of maybe pick one from each. So yeah, let's go. They're all gonna have been dead, but we'll go Cliff Burton. Not that I would want to have a whole dinner with him, but assuming he's dead and he can't hurt me, like I'd at least want to have a quick chat with Hitler. Like I'm not saying I want him at the dinner, but just to be like, what the fuck were you doing? Like it's at least
Punch him back to the grave. Punch his
exactly, that's the
ghost.
thing. Like
Get his
if you've
ghost
got
and punch him in the mustache, you know?
yeah, exactly. So it's a strange opportunity. Let's go Cliff Burton. Let's go. Uh, I might just pick three musicians. Let's go Cliff Burton. Let's go Michael Jackson because I feel like he would be an interesting character to
Mm.
have at a meal. And then let's go. And this is just I wouldn't commit to this if I had a gun to my head. But off the top, the only other person coming to my head is when I was growing up. Like one of the first metal bands I got into after kind of like Metallica was Avenged Sevenfold. They were on their way up, and it was obviously a bit more accessible and stuff. So their drummer who passed away,
The
the Rev or
Rev.
whatever, I
Yeah.
would I'd probably off the top of my head, I think him just because yeah, he was huge for me growing up, but realistically come back to me in like a day and I'll have three completely different people for you because yeah this question sucks but in the best possible way because it's a
No,
good one basically.
no worries. No worries. Because it was so hard, I will also let you have an extra seat for your mom. So you'll feel a
Thank
little
you,
more
yeah,
comfortable, and your mom will certainly enjoy herself and maybe have some fun commentary to add to Cliff and Michael
yeah. Oh,
Jackson and
she wouldn't
the
pick any
Rev.
of those people. My mum, I'm pretty sure my mums are like all living, thank God. But like the people, she always like joked about this, but if she ever met them or like now that I'm in a band, like oh, if I ever see them, there's like three people who are like welcome round for tea at any time, and it's James Hetfield, Dave Grohl, Corey Taylor. So there's her three.
That's her three. Oh, you got the mom's three also. So see, that was easier. I should have asked you
Yeah,
about
see,
your
oh yeah,
mom's
ask me
three.
about my mum. I can tell you anything about my mum.
Amazing. Next interview, it's going to be all about moms.
Awesome, perfect. I will let her know.
You do that. Connor Marshall of Conjurer, thank you so much for this chat.
Thank you,
Pathos
dude.
is coming out July 1st from Nuclear Blast. I'm Keefe, Ghost Cult. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
No, thank you, dude. Appreciate it. It's been fun.